create this sketch, I used a B2 pencil and an eraser. I began by lightly marking out the composition, defining the overall silhouette of the girl's figure and the direction of the main lines. First, I outlined the proportions of the body, the position of the head and shoulders, trying to maintain a smooth and expressive pose. Then I determined the placement of the branches that intertwine with the figure, creating an unusual image of the unity of man and nature. I paid special attention to the construction of the tree crown, which simultaneously serves as hair and a decorative element of the composition. I outlined the main branches with light lines, and then gradually added leaves of various shapes and sizes. To maintain the dynamism of the drawing, I made the lines of the branches sinuous and free. After establishing the general shape, I began to refine the contours of the face. I deliberately omitted the eyes as they are hidden by the hair, enhancing the mystery of the image. I focused on the lips and the smooth oval of the face. Next, I worked on the interweaving of the branches around the neck, chest, and torso, creating the impression that the tree is growing through the heroine's body. Once the main elements were complete, I used an eraser to remove unnecessary contours, lighten certain areas, and refine the drawing. Finally, I refined the contours and added small decorative details to prepare the sketch for subsequent acrylic painting. After completing the sketch, I began painting with acrylic paints. I used 3 brushes, a large brush for the background and large color spots, a medium brush for the main objects of the composition, and a fine brush for drawing details and contours. The first step was to work on the hair. Using a medium brush, I applied rich red-brown tones, emphasizing the direction of the strands. The hair here is not only part of the portrait, but also an extension of the tree, so I sought to unite them into a single form. To create depth, I added dark and light shades of red, enhancing volume. After the hair dried, I began working on the background. Using a large brush, I applied the main color masses, using a combination of blue, turquoise, and light yellow hues. I wanted to create a vibrant, contrasting space, reminiscent of both the sky and an abstract, energetic environment. I applied the paint in broad brushstrokes, blending colors directly on the surface of the paper to create smooth transitions. The next step was working on the character's clothing and body. Although there is virtually no clothing and the figure is represented rather crudely, I painted all the main areas with green shades of varying saturation. I added light and dark areas to create volume while maintaining the decorative nature of the image. After that, I moved on to the branches and leaves. Using a medium brush, I applied the basic brown and ochre colors of the wood. Then, using a fine brush, I added numerous veins, curves, and decorative patterns. I painted the leaves with vibrant red and orange hues to make them stand out against the cool background. Then I began painting the face. To contrast with the warm red hues, I chose an unusual green skin tone. This decision allowed me to impart a surreal mood to the work and emphasize its fantastical nature. I made the lips a vibrant red to make them one of the main visual accents of the composition. In the final stage, I used a fine brush to outline the contours, strengthen the lines of the branches, and add small details, decorative elements, and accents. Certain areas were emphasized with additional shadows and highlights. This gave the composition greater expressiveness and visual depth. The main goal during the coloring process was to create a contrast between the cool background and the warm tones of the wood. I wanted to convey the image of a woman nature in which the human body and the tree become one. The vibrant colors helped enhance the emotional impact of the work, and the decorative lines added a sense of movement and life. Critical evaluation of the painting. What worked well? The idea of uniting a woman and a tree is very strong and memorable. The contrast of the red leaves and the blue background immediately attracts the viewer's attention. The composition is dynamic due to the direction of the branches and hair. The painting evokes emotions and leaves room for interpretation. The decorative graphics and contour drawing work well. The color palette is bold and unusual, which enhances the surreal impression. What worked weaker? Some areas of the figure appear too flat due to the lack of chiaroscuro. The right side of the composition is visually overloaded with branches compared to the lower part of the work. The background is too uniform in places and could contain more textural transitions. Some lines of the branches intersect so often that it is difficult for the viewer to immediately perceive the form. What could be added? More shadows and highlights on the body to enhance volume. Additional textures of the tree bark. Small elements of nature, birds, seeds, particles of light, or leaves in flight. More pronounced light accents around the face as a compositional center. Multi-layered background to increase the depth of space. What could be changed? Slightly reduce the number of branches near the head to make the face more visible. Increase the contrast between the foreground and background. Add more color transitions in the green areas of the figure. This work can be classified in several styles at once: surrealism, fantasy art, symbolism, decorative painting, expressionism, contemporary conceptual art. Who might like this painting? Lovers of surrealism and symbolism. Admirers of bright decorative works. People interested in nature and environmental themes. Lovers of fantasy and mythological imagery. Artists working with metaphors and images of feminine energy. Collectors of contemporary original art. Overall, the work is original, emotional, and memorable. Its main strength is the unusual idea of merging man and tree and the bold use of contrasting colors.